Love this podcast? Support this show through the Acast supporter feature. It's up to you how much you give, and there's no regular commitment. Just hit the link in the show description to support now.
From the gas pump to the grocery store, inflation is everywhere. Seriously, make it stop. Thankfully, there's one company out there that's giving you a much-needed break. It's Mint Mobile. As the first company to sell premium wireless service online only, Mint Mobile lets you order from home and save a ton, with phone plans starting at just $15 a month. All plans come with unlimited talk and text, plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/switch. That's mintmobile.com/switch.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the Cognitive Recalibration Podcast, where we talk about our favorite movies, TV shows, and video games. As always, I'm your host, Shravan. We have our co-host, Taran, here with us, sitting in a very weird position over in Hobart.
Yeah.
Just to avoid the cold, apparently.
In the sun. Just trying to get some vitamin D.
Fair enough. So we've got a special guest this week. We're talking about Shazam, and if you did tune into our Crimes of Grindelwald episode last year, we asked this guest what his favorite superhero was, and it was Captain Marvel, or Shazam, not the Marvel Captain Marvel, but Shazam. So we welcome Bhargava Cherukuri back on as a guest. So welcome.
Thank you. Hey everyone.
So big episode. I was almost going to miss this movie because I watched it at 9:30 last night, and we're recording early this morning, so I almost couldn't watch it, but I'm glad I did because it was good. So we'll start with our usual background of the movie, background of the comics, and then we'll jump.
What about the Who Am I?
Yes. Well, before we do that, yeah, we will do the Who Am I.
Yeah.
Thanks for reminding me, because before we started recording, I was saying that this was one that Taran definitely wouldn't get.
It's Kang.
Okay, well we'll see, but listen to the clues and see if it is Kang. So, who am I? I am a direct descendant of the artist and magician Leonardo da Vinci, and I'm also related to Nostradamus, the noted alchemist Nicholas Flamel, and Ivan Falconelli, as well as Lord Orion of Atlantis. So obviously this person's related to a lot of people. I am the daughter of a magician. I was raised by my father in a small house in New York near the infamous Arkham Asylum. My mother seemingly died after my birth, but I eventually learned that my mother faked her death to return to her people of the mystical land in Homo Magi race. I became a successful stage illusionist before I discovered my true magical powers while investigating the disappearance of my father. On my quest, I asked the help of various heroes including Hawkman and Hawkgirl, Green Lantern, and Atom. Eventually, I located my father in the world of Karma, where I traveled alongside magical duplicates of the heroes I met on my journey, and was finally reunited with my father, who was forced to stay away from me due to the evil sorceress Allura. For a while, I continued my career as a stage magician and assisted people in need with my powers. I assisted the Justice League on a number of cases before being elected to full membership. As I was recruited into the Justice League, I changed my regular stage outfit to my combat costume, and also changed my lives from being a magician to a sorceress. Who am I?
I'm pretty sure I actually know who it is. It's Kang.
Okay.
No, I actually think I know who it is, but I'll say it at the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have an idea who it is?
I think so. But I could be horribly wrong, so I will definitely wait till the end for the embarrassment.
And bonus clue, I am 5 feet 7 inches tall and 127 pounds.
That's a fucking shit clue. Who the fuck would know that? It's like, oh, now I got it.
Yeah, now you definitely got it.
Wait,
yeah.
Did you say 127 pounds?
Yeah.
Oh, no, sorry. I was thinking of someone else.
I know someone that's 128. Okay. Comic book origins of Shazam, or he was originally known as Captain Marvel. So he was not originally a DC Comics character. So he originally was a character in Fawcett Comics. DC bought the rights of Captain Marvel from Fawcett Comics. So he's one of the oldest comic book characters. So since 1973, he was part of the DC Comics, and he was still called Captain Marvel at that stage. And then in the mid-70s, they changed it to Shazam due to basically some legal altercations with the Marvel company, so Marvel Comics. So since then, his comics have been called Shazam, which is what the movie is called.
Oh shit, now I get it.
His first appearance as Captain Marvel was in 1940 in the comic Whiz Comics, issue number 2. Okay. Did you have anything else to add in terms of the comic side of Captain Marvel Shazam?
No, I mean, that's pretty much it. The only thing I would add is that there was an incredible likeness between Shazam and Superman in the early comic book days, which also added to that legal issue.
Yes.
And, you know, it was a very popular comics back in the 1940s. I think it sold over 2 million publications per month. And, you know, it was just going crazy and everyone loved the idea of Shazam. And that obviously added to the heated debate between whether it was a copy of Superman or whether it was his own entity. But, yeah, I mean, there was a lot of legal issues and now we know this hero as Shazam.
The thing is, his name actually isn't Shazam as well. So we actually don't know what his name is. Okay, we'll jump into the movie. So I got a bit of background about the movie itself. It's directed by David F. Sandberg, and he actually has a horror background. So he directed Lights Out and the second Annabelle Creation. And this is a bit of a trend happening in DC movies because Aquaman was directed by James Wan, who's also known as a horror movie director.
Zack Snyder as well, I guess. His first movie was Dawn of the Dead?
Dawn of the Dead, I think. Yeah.
Something dead.
So, and I think in this movie you do see a bit of his horror movie style in a couple of the scenes.
Yeah.
I would say this is probably not a movie for young kids because there are some scenes that would probably frighten them.
I would say so. I mean, there were a lot of young kids in the movie that I was in, the same screening that I was in.
What did they think of the part right at the end with Santa Claus?
I'll get to that bit when we get to the sentence. You're gonna love it.
Where were we? We were talking about David F. Sandberg before you sidetracked us with Santa Claus. Other people involved in this movie, Peter Safran, who's also produced the Conjuring movies. So he produced this movie, and he's not credited on IMDb, but apparently Dwayne Johnson was a producer on this movie.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Well, if you know, he's been cast as Black Adam for a movie there's no movie. He's just cast as Black Adam.
Yeah. So he's been cast as Black Adam before anyone was cast as Shazam.
Yeah.
Before Zachary Levi was cast as Shazam.
There is a part in this movie where you kind of see someone who looks like him. Okay. I'll go into it when we talk about it. Yeah,
when we talk spoilers. It's starring Zachary Levi as Shazam, or Captain Marvel, whatever you want to call him. It's got Mark Strong. It's got Asher Angel, who's the younger
Billy Batson.
Billy Batson. It's got Jack Dylan Grazer, who we previously saw
the It dude. He was
It. Yeah. So he was the guy that was obsessed with
germs.
And
He was a germaphobe.
Yeah. And it's got our favourite comic book actor, Digimon Honso.
He's in way too many comic book movies.
Yeah.
Stick to a role, mate.
But he was actually in it more than I thought he would be in this. I thought he'd only be in one scene, but he's in 2 scenes.
He had double the screen time that you thought he would have. You thought it would be 2 minutes, but it ended up being 4.
And there's a whole cast of other kids in the movie as well. But we'll get into that when we talk about the story. So as usual, I'll ask our guest to explain the story.
Spoiler free.
Spoiler free.
If you do spoilers, then Shravan has a gun underneath the table. He just shoots you in the head.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll never see you again.
All right. Okay, yeah, well, we'll start off with, so Billy Batson is a young kid. You know, he's been in a lot of foster homes from what we've seen. And at some point, through some circumstances, he ends up meeting a wizard who grants him the powers of what he knows as Shazam, which is a champion of sorts. And, this is obviously a kid who's suddenly been given a lot of these powers and a lot of these abilities, and he's got no idea what to do with them or how to sort of channel that energy. And he's got a friend,
Freddie Freeman.
Freddie Freeman, that's right. Yeah. So his foster friend, Freddie Freeman, obviously obsessed with superheroes, sort of helps him out. And that's what we see throughout the trailers and the story. And we see him sort of, I guess, become Shazam, but it's done in a very realistic way, in a sense that, this is a child suddenly given all these abilities. How is he going to deal with that? And we see that throughout the trailers. He's sort of figuring out what powers he has, what he doesn't have. But then he's thrust into this, really realistic scenario of, someone who's looking for world domination or more power. And, how does he fight that evil off? And it's just great. I would say it's a bit of a coming of age story, really. Someone who's finding his way home and is mixed up in all this, I guess you could say, in this plot. And without spoiling too much, obviously Mark Strong being the villain, you get to see the dynamics between someone who's obviously very, who's got an idea, has got a plot in his mind, and a child who's effectively been given all these abilities.
And the underlying plot line is really about family more than anything else.
So it's like Fast and Furious in a way.
Yes.
It's specifically Fast and Furious. Yeah.
So the third movie, or because that is Fast and Furious, yeah.
The fifth movie.
The fifth
movie.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like the end of every Fast and Furious movie. You know when they all catch up and they have dinner?
Yeah.
Like they all.
Yep. And it's always a barbecue, and then they always get Coronas.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Exactly that happens.
Exactly that.
Spoilers.
The 12-year-old kids are drinking Coronas. It's a bad foster home.
Okay, we'll talk about all the underlying themes and stuff more in spoilers, but we'll jump into what our thoughts on the movie were. So my question to both of you is, did DC find their lightning in a bottle with this movie?
By lightning, that was a really,
that was a really
I hated that question. I hated the way you worded it. I hated everything about it.
I'm gonna have one like this for every movie now, because for Captain Marvel, how I had, was it marvelous?
I hated everything about that, and I refuse to answer the question.
Thank you for joining us on this podcast.
You're kicking off the host now.
Did they find their lightning? Yeah, look, firstly, yes, I think so. It's obviously a very different theme to the previous DC movies. The other ones having a bit more of a darker, more serious theme. This one's a bit more lighthearted. There are some serious moments in it, obviously. And it does tread the line with comedy and then serious, and it does that very quickly at points. But yeah, I think so. And I think an attribute to that is the way that Shazam is as a character. He's, even in the comic books and in previous tellings, he's always been slightly more lighthearted than some of the other DC characters. But yeah, I would say that with this, that they've sort of found a story that they can tell in a way that's captivating, and the way that they've portrayed it is effective, I would say.
What were your thoughts overall?
I was just thinking about it then, and contentious opinion, I think it's the best DC Cinematic Universe movie. It's definitely my favourite, I think.
I think it's the best one too.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
I'd be the same with that.
Yeah. And
I know people love
Wonder Woman. I think Wonder Woman would be the only one that people would say, oh, that's better. But I think this is a whole lot better than that.
I think tonally it's definitely a departure from the previous movies, because this is the movie that didn't have any contribution from Zack Snyder. All the other ones did in some way.
Except Aquaman. He cast Jason Momoa.
He cast Jason Momoa. He features in Batman vs Superman and Justice League.
It features in Batman v Superman. You mean that scene when he's underwater, just floating?
Yeah. Yeah, that really awkward scene where they focus on his face for 2 minutes.
Yeah, while he floats in water.
But this is the only one that he had no sort of contribution to. And you can tell that it's very, very different to his style.
It's nice and colourful. Like, you see colours, which is good. Because, the point of having eyes is to see colours, which I like.
Yeah, it is very colourful. Like, just going by his suit itself, it's very, colourful, bright.
I remember when the picture first came out for the suit and we talked about it, you didn't like it. I thought it was pretty good.
No, I didn't. Yeah.
What did you think watching it in the movie?
Oh, in the movie, it fit in the movie. Obviously, when you see it on a set, or when you see any person dressed in a superhero costume on a set, it just looks a bit weird. But when you actually see it in a movie, it looks fine.
Yeah, because they touch it up with CGI.
Yeah, my concern back then was that Zachary Levi wasn't a big guy.
He's
not
a big
like
guy,
Henry
though.
Cavill.
Have you seen?
He is he's much bigger than any of us. But he looked like his face looked disproportionate to his body.
I think the suit
That's what I
was
thought.
maybe padded a little bit, but not padded that much. He worked out.
It wasn't obvious. Yeah.
It wasn't that bad. In hindsight, Ben Affleck in Justice League was probably much worse.
No, he was just bloated and fat in Justice League. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just touching on that as well, I think the reason we found this, the reason I enjoyed it personally was also because the fact that Justice League, the culmination of all the characters in one movie sort of came before their prequel stories.
Yeah.
So you sort of had a glimpse of what they were before the movie came out. We never had that with Shazam, which I think it just shows that having the prequel before
the team up.
The team up.
It makes sense.
It changes the dynamic just slightly.
Yeah. And this is related. This is in the same universe as the other movies, so it's made evident in some of the scenes that it is the same universe.
Yeah.
But it's not forced upon you like some of the other movies before this, like the email scene in Batman vs Superman, or the just random stuff like that. Like, it's done much more subtly, and it's a little bit more clever in the way they say that it's in the same universe.
Yeah, more through Easter eggs than
just
a typical plot point in a story.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're talking positives at the moment. So any other positives that you guys had?
Oh, I was just gonna say the acting was incredible.
That's where I was going as well. Yeah.
Like the casting was brilliant. Acting was incredible.
I liked all the foster kids. They were all good.
Yeah, they were all good.
Yeah, there was it's like a dynamic, like the moment they're introduced as foster kids, you could just tell that, like, you believe that they are foster kids. You believe that they've got a sort of relationship, but they are sort of individual in their own way. And it was done brilliantly.
And the foster mum and dad were good as well.
Yeah, I think, all the cast was pretty good. I like Mark Strong as well as the villain. You could kind of understand where it was coming from as well, in a way. Obviously, his intentions weren't the best, but his motivations, you could sort of see where he was going from, which was good.
I got one actor that was not good. The kid that played Mark Strong younger, he was shit.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing.
He was so bad.
So much.
Yeah, well, he wasn't in it that much, I guess.
He was in it too much for me.
Yeah, I actually missed the first scene, so I kind of only started watching it from the part he meets the wizard.
Oh, so you missed out on most of the Mark Strong younger kid, which is good.
That's very tactical.
Yeah.
Because I actually missed the sub. I was going to ask if they had, you know how DC has their own sort of Marvel fanfare thing where they show
I didn't have that. No.
Didn't have
Yeah. So they didn't have it for Aquaman either, did they? Maybe they're just going to scrap that. Because that was the thing. I think they were going to use it as their shared universe.
I think it's because they don't have enough footage. Yeah, right? Like,
yeah,
that whole logo thing.
Well, in Wonder Woman, they had like just a fully CGI thing.
Yeah.
With all the characters.
Yeah.
No, I think they're moving away from the shared universe anyway, so they're not going to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about the cast. I was just going to mention the little Asian kid who's into gaming.
Eugene.
Yeah, he is a member of the cast in Fresh Off the Boat, that TV show. So that's where I've seen him from. And he pretty much plays the same character in this. Like, he's like a smart little Asian kid.
Maybe that's just him in real life.
I thought he was good. And I thought the little girl was really good too.
I thought the little girl was good as well.
She was, she was one of the best, yeah.
There was the bigger bloke who didn't get much of a character.
He didn't get much of a role, yeah.
You just find out that he gets an F in one of his tests.
He's a dumb shit, that's all. He's a dumb shit that gets books out of the trash for some reason. He's like, oh, what's that in the trash? Let's get that out.
Otherwise, what else? The CGI was pretty good. I think it held up pretty well.
Yeah.
It was a bit wonky at points, but it kind of fit in with the universe.
Overall, the tone was really good. So they really went. It reminded me a bit of
Big
Guardians. Oh, Big, yeah, obviously.
With Tom Hanks.
It actually has a direct reference.
Yeah,
to
with
that
the
movie.
keyboard.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about it in spoilers.
It's not a spoilers, it's just a keyboard.
Yeah.
If we got to the spoiler section, it would have just been so it was a keyboard.
But yeah, well, it has a reference. It has reference to a lot of other movies as well,
does, yeah.
from like the 80s, as in terms of the style of the tone of the movies.
Yeah.
But it reminded me of Guardians because of just the way even in the big action sequences, you'd get laughs.
Yeah.
Like I got that in Guardians, where like you'd expect, going by the superhero genre, like certain things happen, and that's what always happens in a superhero movie.
Yeah.
But then they make fun of it. And they did that in this movie as well. Like, there's a scene at the end where, I mean, we'll talk about it more in detail, but
yeah.
but there's a scene in every movie where the villain and the superhero talk to each other, but they seem to be like really, really far away, but they can still hear each other for some reason.
Yeah.
But they make fun of that in this movie, which I thought was really funny. So overall, like, I really liked that. I liked how they went the comedy route rather than the really serious route. Any other positives before we jump into our negatives? Dojimon Honso was good.
Yeah, he was good. He was good.
He was good.
Yeah.
He was good, yeah.
I always like his accent. It's good. It's a nice accent. Yeah.
Where's he actually from?
South Africa?
Yeah, it might be.
Yeah. Somewhere in Africa.
Surprising he wasn't in Black Panther. Like, he's in like every other comic book movie.
He's in all the comic book movies that came out this year.
He is, yeah. Well, there's only been 2.
But yeah, look, he was in all of them.
Yeah. And he might be in Endgame.
Yeah,
You never
look,
know.
he might be 3 from 3.
I think the music score, it wasn't something that popped out, but it fit in really well, I thought.
Yeah.
There were moments, there were a few moments where I thought,
It has some nice songs.
It was a bit in your face. Yeah, it does. And it was done in a very subtle way so that it doesn't distract your attention away from the scene, but it just adds on to it. I think there were some moments in Guardians 2 especially where the music sort of overtook the scene, and I was sort of worried that might be happening here as well, but they did well with that.
No, they did well. It wasn't a Suicide Squad where they just put music for the sake of putting in popular music.
Yeah.
It was pretty good music. I liked it. They were all good choices. And it wasn't like every scene had to have music behind it. It was just like the odd scene here and there.
We'll jump into negatives. So my main negative from this movie
is the Mark Strong young character.
Now that you guys mentioned it, yeah, that's probably one of them. I think a couple of the plot threads weren't that strong. I can't really explain it without going into spoilers, but basically Billy's looking for his mother, and the reason his mother leaves him wasn't that strong of a motivation for me.
It's pretty funny, actually. Now that I think about it, we'll go through it in spoilers.
I think I wasn't the only one that laughed a bit in the theater. Now I feel like a dipshit.
Yeah.
After I saw what happened, but yeah.
And the other thing was Billy Batson, the kid Billy Batson. He seems to be a pretty serious guy in like when he's a kid, but when he becomes Shazam, he's a goofball and he's making all these jokes. So there's a bit of a contrast there, which I didn't see.
Yeah, they felt kind of like two different characters at times. I think as the movie went along more, they felt like the same character, but at the start it felt wonky.
Just on that, I remember reading something the other day, and someone was saying that they felt that might have been both a positive and a negative. The positive being that he felt Shazam as the character as an adult would be what Billy Batson was like if he had an actual childhood. But again, I don't think I saw it that way. I'm like you as well. I see that, like, I wasn't able to contrast those two.
Maybe when he gets the confidence of being Shazam, that he kind of becomes a bit more out there. Whereas when he's a kid, he's like a bit more reserved.
And the stuff he does as when he becomes Shazam as well, like he does a couple of things which I thought he wouldn't do as Billy Batson. Because the whole thing with Billy Batson was he wanted to find out where his mother was. He wanted to find what he thought was his true family.
Yeah.
That was his real motivation in the whole movie. But he does, once he gets his superpowers, he just does some random stuff in between for money, and like he becomes like a party clown, basically.
Yeah.
Which I didn't think, it didn't really suit what his character was like. But still, I still kind of bought it because I think Zachary Levi's performance was so good that you kind of just go with it. It's not like don't think about it too much. Any clear negatives that you had?
Yep, Mark Strong, younger person.
Yeah, that kid was. Oh god.
The dad was a great either, to be honest.
I hate the
Yeah.
family.
Yeah, the whole family was a bit
was just
weird.
dodgy. Like, so my one negative was I felt like Shazam has a lot of abilities as a superhero. I feel like they only really touched on 2 or 3 main ones, like his power, speed, obviously the lightning and stuff. But he's got a lot of, like, Shazam as a character's got a lot of wisdom.
Yes.
Like a lot of and that's like
Which letter was it
Solomon.
Solomon's wisdom of Solomon.
Yeah. And it's crazy because like the powers that he gets, like, you know, he's able to understand all the languages of the world. He can speak to aliens. He possesses an uncanny awareness that allows him to turn disadvantages in a situation to an advantage. But I felt like I understand what they were doing with the movie.
Yeah.
But it would have been good to see like some touch of his other abilities that were a little more subtle.
Yeah.
And yeah, because when I first saw the movie, I thought, okay, like, you know, he's looking for his mother. When he gets the powers that he has, that would help him. But he doesn't really use that, which can be good in a way. Like, he uses his own mortal, I guess, abilities to do what he does. But that's the only negative I had. I felt like they didn't touch
on the wisdom part, especially.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it really just feels like a guy with super strength, lightning, all that, but his mind is still a kid. Like, he still thinks like a kid.
Yeah. And even the courage, I'm pretty sure the second last A in his name is for Achilles, which is the courage of Achilles.
Yeah.
And there were times where obviously
maybe they were trying to say that he's still in the process of discovering.
Yeah.
Because towards the end of the movie, he does kind of get the courage.
He does, yeah.
Maybe in the next movie, he gets the wisdom.
Yeah, hopefully. So that was my main negative.
Did you have anything in particular apart from the young Mark Strong?
Damn it, that's what I was going to say. Nothing else. I actually really enjoyed it. I didn't have much in terms of negative. I didn't mind that they didn't explore all these powers because, you know, they could do it in sequels. Everything was pretty good. It's a breezy movie and it's fun to watch. So, yeah.
I think from all of us, the positives definitely outweigh.
Yeah, I think it's definitely probably the best movie I've seen so far this year.
Yeah, it's my favorite movie this year as well.
Yeah. And I think I was talking to Shravan about this before, but I was saying that it might even be better than some Marvel movies.
Yeah.
And that's rare for a DC movie.
Yeah.
And it's good to see.
I think it's definitely better than Captain Marvel.
Yeah, definitely.
It's better than Captain Marvel. Well, it's my favorite DC movie. It's definitely, I think it'll be up there for everyone in terms of DC movies.
Yeah.
All right, we'll give our ratings.
All right.
As usual, we'll do our Infinity Stone rating. So we'll run through the stones. So we'll start with Soul, which I think this movie definitely has.
It does.
It's got a lot of family.
Yeah, definitely.
Coronas.
I almost teared up in the movie a bit. Just a little insight into how my mind works, but yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, what did you say?
Oh, I almost teared up in this movie a
you
bit.
pussy.
Okay.
Hey, that kid failed his test.
You could relate to it. I know what you feel like, man.
Yeah, definitely Soul.
So it's got the soul. Power, it's got some good action.
It's got some good action, yeah. It's got some good... Do you know what was good in this movie? When he hit someone, the sound it made when he hit them was really good sound. Did you guys realize that?
Very specific. I
didn't really notice it.
Specifically.
Like sometimes when you watch... sometimes when you watch a movie, the hits don't make like an impact. Like it feels like it's just like two stuffed toys fighting each other.
I didn't notice it as much, but it might be the sound system that the cinema I was in as well. It didn't have as much bass, but
yeah, definitely some good action scenes,
Yeah.
and even the slightly more, I would say, graphic scenes, they were done really well as well. Yeah, they weren't afraid to go down that path and make it and make sure that it wasn't just a PG rated movie, because it's not, obviously, but they could have very easily had those scenes cut out and made it a movie.
just for kids.
Which they did, which I'm happy about.
Yeah, and that's the scenes I was alluding to in terms of the director's sensibilities.
It's probably not a kid's movie, I would say. Although some parts of it are like a kid's movie.
Yeah, I think maybe over 10 years old. Yeah, they could easily handle this. I think maybe below that, they might get a bit freaked out by some of the scenes.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's got the power, it's got the soul. Does it have time? I don't think it does.
No, it does. It starts in the 80s and then it moves to current time. It's got two different time zones.
It does. Yeah, you're right. It's got young Mark Strong. Okay, yeah. All right, so it's got time. Does it have space?
No, it doesn't.
Okay, so it misses out on space. No spoilers there. If you're expecting Shazam to go in space in his very first movie, you might be a bit disappointed.
No, it doesn't count. I know what you're thinking about. It's just
Yeah,
high.
yeah.
It's in the atmosphere. He doesn't break Earth's atmosphere.
What about the scenes where they're opening the doors? I don't know spoilers, but
We don't know where they are. It's technically not space. It could be another dimension, or yeah.
Yeah, it could be interdimensional. Yeah.
all right, I'll give a Shane Watson DRS for that one.
Okay. What else do we have left? We've done 4 of them.
Reality.
Reality.
Yeah.
So is it? Does it have an element of realism? Does it make you feel like it's a real world?
I think so. The Foster family part really does, I think.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Definitely. I would say it's probably, out of all the heroes, probably one of the more realer
Yeah.
movies done, just because of the way that...
And I think you can relate to him because of the whole family aspect.
that's
Yeah,
it,
yeah. So yeah, it gets a reality stone.
Yeah.
So does it make you think a bit?
Probably half. It's not the most smart movie.
It's not the most thought-provoking.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The plot is pretty basic.
Most people will be able to follow it. And it also doesn't have links to any of the previous movies either. You can really just watch it as a standalone. So
I would say half.
yeah, okay.
Although I would argue that, someone asked me this question as well, they were saying that when you were a kid, if you had those powers, would you do any different? Because we were just talking about the way that Shazam acts throughout the movie. And
Yeah.
I remember thinking about that, and I remember thinking about, like, you know, the way that this movie does it made me think about if I would have been the same. So I would be half and half
Yeah.
on it. It's not a movie that's intendedly thought-provoking, if that makes sense.
No.
But I mean, if you're like me, then you might think about what you'd do different. But yeah, I'd be happy with saying no, it doesn't have the Mind Stone.
Yeah.
I would say it has half.
Half? Okay. All right. So it's got half of a Mind Stone. Full soul, full
Reality.
reality,
Full time.
full time,
And no space.
no space. So that's
5 out of 6. 5.5. 4.5.
4.5.
4.5.
Yeah.
Yeah. 4.5 out of 6.
Sure, you didn't fail the maths.
You were that
I'm
kid.
Pedro. Is his name Pedro, or did I make that up? No, I'm pretty
thought it
sure
was
his name's
Hector.
Pedro. Am I just being racist?
Nah, his last name is Pascal. No, Pena. No, the actor's name is Pedro Pena. Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah. The actor's name is... No. Well, hang on. The character's name is Pedro Pena.
Okay, so I was right.
The actor's name is Yovan. Yeah.
Uh-huh,
you're
okay.
right.
Cool.
We are on point today.
So 4.5 out of 6. So that's a pretty good rating. Overall, we obviously really enjoyed it and we do recommend it. Okay, so we'll jump into spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie and you care about spoilers, please come back to this point in the episode and we'll be talking spoilers. Okay, so we'll start with which is now the very infamous start to the movie with the young Mark Strong.
Mark Strong.
Savannah family. They're all a bunch of shit.
Yeah, they're all a bunch of shits. And the acting makes it worse.
Yeah, exactly.
I was going to say it's more about family because it's kind of a contrast between how Mark Strong views his family and how Billy Batson views his family. Yeah. So Mark Strong obviously doesn't
He kills
care
his
about
family.
his family at all. Yeah, he kills his family.
He chucks his brother out a window.
Yeah, I wasn't actually expecting that. That was like... Because up till that point in the movie, it was pretty PG.
It was pretty tame. And then he chucks his brother out a window. Wait, what the fuck?
No, it was funny because his dad was thrown out of the glass window in the car and he throws his brother out the window in the balcony. So I found a bit of imagery there, which was pretty funny.
Yeah. I thought the father would have actually died, but...
Yeah,
he just
the father looked fine afterwards. No scars on the face or
At the
anything.
start, he was like bleeding out of his chest and everything.
Yeah. So he somehow survived that. So before the car crash happens and before he goes to meet the wizard, was there some conversation that they had? And
They're all just being little shits.
So basically, he's like playing with his thing, like that, at the 8-ball.
Oh, yeah.
And his father's like, I told you no toys at Grandpa's house.
Oh, okay.
And then I think the kid's like, it's not a toy or whatever. And then his brother
No,
steals it.
the kid's like, but it's Christmas.
Oh, yeah. It's Christmas. Yeah, I think I've just tuned the entire thing out of my mind. Yeah, and then like his brother steals it, does some shit. His father laughs at his brother's joke and makes him feel even worse. And yeah, and then he's looking at the 8-ball, and like all these symbols start popping up.
Oh, yeah.
And then he looks up and he's like his brother and his dad are not there, and then
he's in that wizard realm. Yep.
he like opens the door and then he's in the wizard's realm. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. And he spends his whole life studying the symbols or the sequence of symbols to get into that.
Yeah.
My question was, the ball, before it goes into the present day, you see a bit of lightning around it. Is there an explanation for that?
I think it's the 7 deadly sins.
Yeah.
Try to
because
communicate with him.
It comes up.
Ah,
It comes up with the thing that says, "Come find us."
Ah, so it's referring to
It's referring
the
to the
7 deadly sins. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. My favorite one is envy, who comes out at the
Envy, that envious bastard. He's not very smart.
And then we come to present day Philadelphia, and we
Philly.
basically meet. Yeah, we meet Billy.
I think Taran knows what I'm referencing.
Yeah.
Is it a basketball reference?
No, it's How I Met
it's
Your
from
Mother.
How I Met Your Mother.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. We meet the young Billy Batson. He's trying to find his mother. There's probably better ways he could go about doing it other than like locking up policemen and looking in there.
Maybe he's exhausted all the options. Look, he looked after 74 different women, so this is his last option. He has to lock up police.
It's funny. It's funny how he goes to the house and he's like, "I think I'm your son." And
It's just a
the person
black
that
lady.
opens the door.
Would have been funny, like Barney. It's like, "Mama."
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really funny. But the scene shows how smart he is.
Yeah.
Like how street smart this kid is.
Yeah.
And it also shows that he's still a kid. When he's like, "Oh, some kid stole my walkie-talkie."
See, in that scene, he's pretty fun. He gets a bit more serious afterwards, but he's funny in that
He
scene.
does.
Yeah.
Laid back. I think when he's with himself, he's in his own element. He's like as happy as he can be, I suppose, because that's just
Yeah.
what he knows.
But when he's around, I guess, people he doesn't want to live with,
yeah,
he's probably a bit more serious.
He's a bit of a downer.
So then he basically goes to that foster home and he meets his new family,
yeah,
who he doesn't particularly want to live with. But that's when we meet the little girl who's very happy to have another older brother.
yeah.
She's a bit clingy, though. Come on, lay off.
And we meet all of them in sequence. So we meet, I think her name is Mary, who's looking to get into Caltech.
Yeah, Mary, Eugene, Diane.
Darla.
What is it?
It's Darla.
Fuck. That's close.
Yeah, so we meet her, and then we meet all of them in
And then
sequence.
Pedro.
The last one we meet Pedro, who doesn't really say much throughout the whole movie. He says something funny at the end, though. What did he say at the
He's
end?
like, beat his ass.
Yeah.
Beat his ass,
Latina
Billy.
roots are coming out. Yeah. Okay. And then we meet Freddy, who shares the room with Billy, and he's obviously really into superheroes. And then they obviously all go to the same school as well, I think. So we see them at school, and basically all this is sort of in the trailer, how Freddy gets bullied, and then Billy, he wasn't going to help it, but then he does help him when he hears about I think they say something about his mother, not having a mother or something, and then he gets triggered and hits them. And then they run away, and he gets recruited by the wizard. But before that, what happens is we rejoin Mark Strong's character, and he's basically been researching how many people have actually met this wizard, and it looks like there's thousands of them by the sounds of it.
It's a very interesting take they took for this part, I thought. It's obviously not just the wizard finding Billy on the first go. He's struggling for ages and ages.
For years, obviously, because Mark Strong's 40 years old?
Yeah,
at least.
Yeah. I think when the wizard was like, find me the champion, no matter how long it takes.
Yeah.
30 years later, he's like,
Obviously, those
I don't think he
those
meant
those light things slacked off for a couple of years. They're like, oh fuck, we've got as long as it takes. Let's just take a couple of years off.
It's like when you have an assignment due 2 months from now and you don't do it until the last day.
Let's just chill for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, so it just shows how many people... I think what it showed was that there really wasn't anyone that was pure of heart.
Did you guys get this part? Well, because Billy's the first person that he sees after the demons are gone. So technically, Billy wasn't pure of heart either, because he couldn't test him.
Nah.
It was just his last option.
He pretty much had no choice.
He had no
So it's like,
choice,
yeah,
yeah.
we'll just get you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because, and I think that was a bit of a talking point. It was Billy never really had a chance to prove that he was all good.
But then at the end of the movie, he does, because
Yeah.
they try and manipulate him, and you find out that he's actually pure of heart then. But I think if,
Oh, I think he was just joking though. Like, I don't think that was an actual test, was it?
no, but they try and manipulate him.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's true, yeah.
Yeah.
But you could argue at that point, he already has the powers. And I'm pretty sure one of his powers, I think, I don't know, is it Solomon? Or maybe Achilles or something, but it's he can't be corrupted. So, it's interesting.
Yeah.
How you'd understand, like, how you'd comprehend that situation.
Yeah. Well, he's meant to be like very trustworthy of people.
Yeah.
Apparently. So there is a arc in the comic books where Lex Luthor basically manipulates him to fight Superman.
Yeah.
In the comics, he's stupid. He's like really dumb, but like he's got the knowledge of Solomon. So he's smart in terms of like book smart, but in terms of like street smart, he's stupid.
Okay. So we meet, what's his name? Dr.
Savannah.
And he, pretty much in one scene, he discovers, in the scene that we meet the older Mark Strong, I think they're interviewing a person that has just met the interaction with the wizard. There's video evidence of it, and he sees the alarm clock changing in the symbols, and he figures out the code, and he ends up meeting the wizard and getting the powers that's all in one scene, as far as I remember.
Yeah. It's funny when his assistant like touches the door and just does it. He's just like
Funny story. I read this earlier today. Apparently, the assistant is the director's wife. Legit.
He gave us such an awesome role.
Yeah.
So much.
So why does she
marry to the director? Probably money.
Well, you'd question it after this movie.
Yeah.
No, why does she disintegrate? Is it because she doesn't believe? Because she says that and then she touches the door and she just dies.
Look, I don't actually know. Is it because she didn't touch the doorknob? She touched the door. It's like, you have to touch the doorknob. You can't touch the door. Those are the rules.
Yeah, it's obviously not explained too much. I don't know. I think it sort of felt as though there was like a rush of energy that sort of surged.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah.
She dead.
Yeah.
They got a divorce.
Was it
That's why. That's me.
Yeah.
They probably did get a divorce.
That's the director's way of saying that they're done. Yeah, so like he ends up coming, like, so yeah, he obviously walks to the door. You get a glimpse of Mr. Mind.
Yes, you do.
Yeah. Who I didn't know who that was until I looked it up afterwards.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, like he goes, sees the wizard. The wizard's like, I remember you. And this guy's like, give me the power.
Pretty much.
Give me the money.
And he just takes it.
Yeah, he just takes it, yeah. And it's funny because the wizard doesn't really do anything to stop him.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
He's tired,
But he does
guys.
something
Come
afterwards.
on. He just finished shooting Captain Marvel. He did Guardians of the Galaxy the year
does something
before.
right after though. Like the moment he does get the power, he tries to stop him.
He tries to stop him, yeah. Because he's just regular Mark Strong before that. So he could have easily just done something, but he just lets him. Maybe he wanted to challenge himself. He's like, I can beat this guy.
No, he just wanted to convince him with words. He's like a hostage negotiator. He wants to use his words.
Look at me.
Yeah.
I'm the champion now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he gets the power, knocks. It's funny, he doesn't take the staff though.
He doesn't. No, he doesn't take the
leaves it
stuff.
there.
Yeah.
But he like all the sins like embody him, and he ends up with all the powers.
Yeah. In his eye.
Yeah, which you find out in the end doesn't actually give him the power. It's the sins that give him the power. I suppose that ball thing just unleashes them from there.
Yeah.
It's like a
yeah.
lock.
I think it's just a capsule for them.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, so he gets his power and then leaves.
I think he just leaves, and then we cut back to Billy.
Yeah,
He's like, later's gonna kill my dad and brother.
pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah, because we don't see him that much in the movie. Like, we see him in that scene.
Yeah.
And then there's a big gap, and then we see him again, and he kills his dad and brother.
Yeah.
And then there's another big gap, and then we see him again.
Yeah.
So it's just cutting in and out of Billy and him, I guess,
Yep.
until the stories collide.
Yep.
So after we cut back, we've talked about how Billy gets his powers, and then we get the whole scene, which we've seen in the trailers as well, where they're trying to figure out what his powers are. There's a bit more to that scene, actually, because there's a part where they meet in the night, just Freddy and Billy, and they figure out some of his powers, and then he helps this lady who's getting mugged, but the lady was obviously doing fine because she had pepper spray that she sprayed in his in the mugger's face, and then he calls her like an old lady. It's like, wait, I'm around the same age as you. It's like, and that's when they start trying to come up with names for him as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That whole exchange, the whole thing with Freddy and him, I think it was done in the most real way possible. From everything from him explaining the situation to Freddy trying to explain that it is him.
Yeah.
And Freddy being really skeptical from the very start. I thought that was done really well. And even, so like we find out he does steal the bullet in the end, the bullet that Freddy shows him when he's showing him his room. And he drops it and he's just trying to convince Freddy, and Freddy doesn't believe him until he says something. I can't remember what he says, but he's skeptical at the start. And I think that's really realistic because, like, I remember there are many superhero movies where you sort of just come in and everyone's like, the person's like, I'm this person, and they sort of believe it from the get-go.
Yeah.
Like, Freddy's obviously skeptical. It's like, how do
So
I
using your mind powers.
Yeah. It's a very, like, comedic but a very real way of explaining, like, that's how you would act.
Yeah. I think he shows him the Superman, like he rips open the bag and shows him the Superman bullet, right? And then he drops
He shows it.
Yeah.
And then he drops it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe that's it.
Yeah.
And then they go to the store when they find out that they get money first, right?
They get, that lady gives them
That's right,
$73.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
He sees the altercation, and then that's when he notices he has super speed.
And then they go to the shop and there's this is obviously a very rough part of town. There's crime going on everywhere here. So they go to this convenience store and they're going to get some alcohol.
Yeah.
And these two other guys come in trying to rob the cash from the store.
Yeah.
And then you see it in the trailer. That's when they figure out that he's bulletproof as well.
Yeah.
That part's actually really funny in the movie, though.
It's so funny.
It's like, how do you know the suit's bulletproof and you're not? Shoot him in the face.
Even before that, he's like, "Hey, dude, do it again. Shoot me again."
Yeah.
And he gives him back the gun.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. And then the fun part after that, which is also quite funny, is that they do end up getting the beer.
Yeah.
They have a sip of it and they both can't take it. They're like, this is terrible.
This is vomit.
And then they go back in and get other shit.
And then they just hang out for a bit, don't they?
Yeah.
In Philly.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
In that scene where the famous training scene of Rocky.
Yes, yeah. And then they head back home, and that's when they figure out that he has to say Shazam to turn back into Billy.
Yeah.
But not before Darla finds out
that it's him. Yeah.
That it's him.
They sort of glaze over that, I think, don't they? Like he says his name accidentally. He turns back into Billy.
Yeah.
And then
they just go to bed.
Yeah, it's a bit after that, yeah.
It's like there's a massive hole in your ceiling.
And and before that he'd run away from home and the foster parents don't come to check on him.
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay.
It's like, wait, we've lost electricity. That's more important.
Yeah, the foster dad's fixing him like Christmas tree bulbs. Yeah, they sort of glaze over the scene, but again, like I guess they wouldn't have achieved much by going through that entire conversation.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
It would have just been him explaining something. Yeah.
There's a pretty funny part where they ask Darla if she's good at keeping secrets, and she's like, moderately.
And he's like, no, she's not.
And then I guess we spend some more time with them at school, I think, after that. Is that the scene where they talking to the security guard and they're trying to leave school, I think, and they're like, "Oh, our parent is here to pick us up," and it's like he was just held up in a business
in a business meeting.
In a business meeting, I think, is that what he says?
Business conference. He says business.
I think it says business meeting. Is it?
I don't think he says meeting. I don't know what he says. It's business something.
It's business something. Yeah. Yeah, the whole exchange, it was really funny, like the way that they did it all, and the way that he turns into Shazam, comes back and pretends to be the father, and he's still acting like a child.
Yeah.
So obviously like a child. That security guard's so dumb.
Moron.
Yeah.
Yeah. Detective moron.
Oh.
Yeah. And just before that exchange as well, Billy and Freddy are talking. And it's like, you always look like you're up to something. And then the security guy's like, I think you're up to something.
It's just such in-your-face comedy. It's done really well. Yeah, and then they go and start testing out his powers.
So he still can't fly at that stage, but obviously later in the movie he can.
Yep.
And then he starts doing some uncharacteristic stuff, which I thought uncharacteristic for Billy because of... He starts doing stuff for money. I thought he'd use his powers to probably find his mother, which is his whole motivation for the whole movie. But he just does random stuff. I guess maybe because he's still a kid, so maybe he's just like he's forgotten about his mother momentarily, and he's like, I've got all these powers now.
Yeah,
like
trying to work it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably the only downside I have.
Yeah.
Really, to the entire thing is just that, like, how he changes the mindset. But again, like, testing the powers is probably a scene that from the trailers we saw was great. It fitted really well with the movie. The way they do it, it reminded me of Iron Man 1, like the way Tony Stark goes through like levels of how he achieves what he does.
Yeah.
And it's like the same video sort of scene.
Except this is much more low tech. It's just a little teenage kid on his phone.
Yeah.
With like a piece of paper.
Punching bins and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's done really well. You find out he's got like super strength. He's obviously got super speed, super strength.
The lightning powers.
Yeah, the lightning, bullet immunity that they know already. They do a bit of the fire immunity, which you find out he is fire immune. But they also, I'm not sure if they end up testing his teleportation. They do that scene where they want to test it and then he ends up crossing it out and does the fire thing. I'm not sure if they actually tested the teleportation or if they just if he went straight for the prank. Either way, they're doing the tests and stuff and they're trying to figure it out. It's a very lighthearted way to show what powers he's got. And then I'm trying to think of what happens next. So he's going through all the tests and then does it cut to Mark Strong? And that's when the scene when he kills his brother and father.
I think it cuts back to Mark Strong.
Yeah.
And that's when he runs into a board meeting and he kills everyone there with his 7 sins.
Yeah. Probably the first violent scene.
Yeah. And that was that was probably the director's style in terms of his horror roots as well. I like the receptionist in that scene. He's pretty funny.
He doesn't do shit. That's the worst receptionist ever.
He just lets him in.
He doesn't do anything. He just says, "Don't go in there," but he goes in there.
He goes in there, and then he hears like shit going down in the room, and he just leaves. And then that's when the 7 deadly sins
come out for the first.
They come out for the first time, and they also say that the wizard has selected a champion as well. Oh, we haven't mentioned when Billy does go to meet the wizard to get his powers. The wizard there is this exposition talking about like how there was a...
Yes. And that's when I was going to mention that you see Dwayne Johnson.
It looks very much like him. Do you reckon they got him or do you reckon they just did the CGI to look like him?
I think they just did the CGI to look like him.
Yeah, it's really interesting because it explains that he chose a champion long ago and he was eventually corrupted.
So he's still around somewhere?
I guess
they don't
so.
Say.
Yeah.
He's obviously, somewhere, but he says that that's what happened. Yeah, the fact that he doesn't say what happened to him leads me to believe that he's obviously in the universe somewhere.
Probably somewhere, yeah.
Comic books wise, he gets sent really far away and he ends up flying back to Earth over 5,000 years.
Okay.
So back when he was champion, I can't remember what happens exactly, but from 5,000 years ago to now, he's been flying through space to get back to Earth.
That's a long time.
Yeah. Really long time. So maybe that's where he is now.
Yeah. And he's got the same powers as Shazam.
Yeah.
All the same. Yeah.
Just much more apt at using them.
Okay. Well, the other question I had was, so is Shazam just an older if Billy Batson was to grow up to the age of Shazam, would he look like Zachary Levi?
If he had a gym membership.
Is he just like an older version of him?
It's the best version of him.
Yeah.
It's the best version of him, like in his prime, basically. That's what it's meant to be.
So if they keep doing this and Billy, the kid Billy starts getting older, there will be a point where they're the same, right? So he won't really have a secret identity because it will just look like Shazam.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know if they ever got that far in
They did, I think. I think there was a point where he's older and he looks the same as Shazam.
So it's basically just Superman then.
He even has his civilian job as a reporter in the comics.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
It was and Dr. Savannah is meant to represent Lex Luthor, like the billionaire tycoon.
Okay.
Look after his powers. That's why it was so such a scandal back in the day.
Yeah, it's very similar.
Yeah. There's one scene we did miss, and that's Billy with his mother in the carnival.
Yes. Which is a scene you guys found funny.
No,
just the way that it's done.
Just later in the movie when you find out why she left him. It's funny because she's just like, oh, I can just leave him there.
Yeah. And she's like 2 meters away from the cops and like the Billy's right there. And it's just like, it's the way it's done.
It's because like 2 seconds ago, she's like calling out his name and wants to find out where he is. And then she sees him with the cops and she's like, nah, fuck it, I'm leaving.
Because she says she's 17. Firstly, she doesn't look 17.
No, that's what cocaine does to you though.
And he looks like he's he's not like a baby. He looks like he's maybe 3 or 4 years old at least,
I was
right?
going to say 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah.
At least
So
4
did
or
she have
5.
him when she was 12?
Yeah, it didn't make sense to me.
She was 12.
She really...
Wait, no. To be fair to her, she said when he was born, she was 17.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, yeah.
Jesus. Either way, though, like you could argue that at the same time that, you know, why didn't she put him in foster care earlier?
Yeah.
Like, why raise him to 4 and then ditch him at the carnival?
And then just ditch him, yeah.
That was her master plan, though. She's like, foster care, the paperwork's so hard. Let's just ditch him at a carnival.
And then he gives her back the compass, and she's like, "What the fuck?"
Yes.
I felt so bad for Billy at that moment. I was like, "Is he holding on to this his entire life?" But I think you get the hint though, like from the very start.
You knew it was going to happen.
Police officers, yeah, exactly. Like the police officers, like, "Don't worry, she'll find you." Like,
Yeah, they always come
back,
and
like,
she just
then
never
you
did.
realize that obviously she doesn't want him, which is probably the saddest part of the thing. But anyways, yeah,
The other thing was, the first time you see that scene and she's trying to pop the balloons, I don't know, this was when I watched it. I don't know if it was exactly the same scene, exactly the same take, but she seemed like nicer in the first time.
That's the thing. He remembers it as her being super nice, but in reality, she was a bitch. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was just very subtle, but she says the same thing that you said in the first scene, but she just seemed more annoyed in the second time.
Yeah, pretty much. She's a shit darts player too. Yeah. There's like hundreds of balloons and she missed all of them.
I guess that's what cocaine does to you.
Yeah.
Okay. That scene was good though, when he goes to see her. She's obviously got another abusive. She's not very good at selecting partners, obviously, because it sounds like she's got another abusive husband.
Yeah, not ideal.
And she's still struggling to make ends meet, sounds like.
Yeah, but I think that's when it cuts back to Billy and Freddie at school. And then is it one of the two people, like the two bullies or whatever, start challenging him, and he's like, "Oh, I know Captain Thunder or whatever.
Yeah.
He'll come to lunch tomorrow."
And then they're like, "Oh, and Superman will give us dessert or something."
We've got it mixed up. That's all before, and then he goes to see his mother. And then at the same time he goes to see his mother is when Dr. Savannah's at his house. And then he gets a phone call.
That's at the very end, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's at the very end.
But in between all of this, Billy and Freddie have a fallout.
Yeah, they have their falling out. And then he like does random shit. And then they find out that his mother lives like 2 blocks away.
But meanwhile, Dr. Savannah's kidnapping Freddie.
Yeah, so he has that fight with Dr. Savannah where he gets owned.
And that's when you get the big scene with the keyboard.
Yeah, the big scene. It's not very big, but...
No, it's not. It was done. That entire scene was done really fast. Like everything from the fallout to him accidentally destroying the tower on the bus to saving it.
Yeah, and then
appearing out of nowhere.
And then the fight in the shopping center.
Yeah, everything was done really quick.
Yeah.
I didn't mind that.
Yeah.
It was just a lot of things happening at once.
I didn't mind it. There was no like off time. It kept the pace going.
The part with the bus, it's just a thing that I found really weird. So you see people falling and hitting the glass, and the glass is shattering.
Yeah.
But then he catches it on the glass, and the glass doesn't shatter.
Yeah, and also when he catches them, he just catches them like flat. So wouldn't that be the same as hitting the ground?
Them falling. Yeah, I don't know. It's really it's interesting.
Because I thought he would have caught it on like the metal part of the bus, and then he would have, it would have made sense.
They walk out like
fine,
injury free. Like
they're like
they fell from like the top of the bus to the bottom.
Yeah, that would.
They would have concussions. Yeah, at least.
Yeah, I would have thought like fractured skulls, like fractured bones, but they walk out and they're like, "Thank you so much."
Yeah, they're fine.
And then Freddie and him have that argument. I love the way that Freddie argues the way he does. Just like the way he says what he says, it's very realistic, and you can kind of see where he's coming from.
Well, the first time they have the fallout, I was kind of actually on Billy's side because he is kind of breaking his rules. Like he's saying, you're meant to have a secret identity, you're not meant to know who you're related to and all of that.
Yeah.
But then he's still using him to because he wants to get something on these bullies.
Yeah, exactly.
But then after that, obviously Billy goes a little bit too far.
Yeah.
And then Freddie is right.
Yeah, and the fight scene with Dr. Savannah,
which was pretty good. He gets owned, obviously, because he hasn't quite realized how to use his powers, I guess, at that stage.
And here's the thing, right? I actually don't know this, but what are the powers of the 7 deadly sins?
They can turn into these really ugly monsters.
No, I don't think they had any particular powers.
They didn't, yeah. Because like the way that Dr. Savannah has his powers, it's almost as though he's like a Black Adam, if that makes sense. Like he's got like lightning powers, he's got light, he's got he's got everything that.
I think they have the same powers as Shazam.
Yeah, he seemed to almost have the same powers as Shazam. So.
It's interesting because I'm not even sure if in the comics they explain it. Because they are members, like they do show up, but they're just like strong, like monsters.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I mean, it's like I didn't mind it. It was just I wasn't sure how strong got his powers with it. He's obviously much more apt. And then there's a scene where Freddy's just in the shopping mall shouting for Billy.
Yeah, and he shouts for a bit too long in the same spot. He's in the same spot, and he keeps shouting.
Pretty much
Billy's
everyone's cleared out.
Yeah, he's not there, man. Come on, please.
And it takes
Pretty much everyone's cleared out except for Dr. Savannah, who's just standing there looking at him like deviously. And he's like, "Where are you, man? Billy?"
It's like Michael Jackson look on his face.
Yeah.
No, because he's looking at the screen and he's just like, "That's the kid."
And he smiles.
Back and forth, and he just smiles. It takes him a good 5 minutes to figure it out.
Yeah, well, he was there long enough for him to figure it out. Yeah.
Oh, that's a weird scene.
But just before that scene, so they're running through this toy store, and obviously there's Santa. It's during Christmas, so there's Santa there as well.
It's the same Santa from the end of the movie.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, because he sees them again in the fair or whatever at the end, right? And then he's like, "Oh shit!" and he starts running away.
Is this a Christmas movie? I think it is.
It is, yeah, because it's during Christmas. It's about family, and yeah, it's pretty much like Christmas. I was gonna say, obviously, Batman and Superman are so popular in this universe now. They have their own action figures and stuff, and he chucks a Batman action figure at him.
And he's like, "Get him, Batman."
I sort of like, it was a funny scene. I think a part of me felt really annoyed as well. I'm just like he knows he has super strength and he's obviously really afraid of what's happening. And it was just like, part of me was like, "Oh, just punch him, like do something, to stop throwing."
Yeah, it was pretty much just running away.
Yeah.
Like he would run away if he was just Billy. Like he wasn't even using his powers. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. But it's like he has been shot at and he knows he's got bullet immunity.
Yeah.
That being said, though, like obviously the guy's punches did hurt him, so he probably felt scared. But yeah, it was interesting. It was funny. Yeah. So all that, he ends up turning back into Billy to escape from Dr. Savannah, and then
his parents give him a beating when he gets home.
yeah,
They take him into the room and abuse him.
The guy wants to, but the
mom's like, the boss mom's like, "Go easy on him."
Yeah.
Like,
And then the dad gets out the belt.
oh, actually, wait. But before all this, there's a scene where he saves Mary.
Oh yeah, we missed that scene. Yeah.
He's obviously like he's going through the park, taking photos with everyone. Sees Mary, saves her from being run over. You find out Mary gets into Caltech, and she's just really sad about leaving her foster family. And Billy's like, "Fuck it, leave him." And she's like, "No, I don't want to." And then he's a bit creepy in that, like, obviously he's Billy, but from her point of view, it'd be pretty creepy.
Yeah, but he was so obvious that she like figures it out later anyway.
Yeah, that's it. And then Darla's like, "Yes, I didn't tell anyone."
They're like, "You knew all this time?"
Yeah.
And then she gets a beating.
Yeah.
Dad gets the belt out again. Fucking Darla, stop talking.
Yeah, so the kids walk in, they figure it out, and then Billy's not even like surprised. Like they're just like, "You're him," and he's like, "Yeah, I'm him."
Yeah, I know. Like he doesn't even
try to like deny it.
He's not even surprised. They're like, "Oh, so you're the guy," and he's like, "Yeah," and then he just leaves.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Gotta go find my mom. See you, bitches." Says those exact words.
And then his mum's like, "I don't want."
And then his mum's like, "Fuck you," and he's like, "Shit."
And they're gone for an abnormally long time, like the mom and dad. So they go to look for him, right? And they're not back till like late in the night, like after Dr. Savannah's done all this shit.
They decide to have date night in the middle. It's like, oh fuck, he's gone anyway. Let's go out and get some cocktails.
Oh, you know what? There's a funny scene here. So Dr. Savannah returns with Freddy and he's like, "Oh, this isn't too shabby." And then he's like, "It's fucking shit."
He changes his mind pretty quickly. It's like, "Oh, this is quaint." Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, so Billy finds his mum. Mum says she doesn't. And then she's like, but you're good. You look good. And then he leaves. He gets the phone call, returns home, and he sees his family on the couch. He comes back as Shazam, and Dr. Sivana opens the door, telling him to give him the powers, which is interesting because you could argue that he already has the powers to an extent.
I think he just doesn't want anyone else to have the power so that he's the most powerful. Because he's the only one that can stop him. So if he's not there, then nothing can stop him.
Did they explain why the 7 deadly sins wanted it?
So that nothing could stop him.
No one can stop them? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's fine then. So he goes to the door. They go back to the place. This is where you see Mr. Mind's glass thing shattered and he's no longer there.
And then they run away. And it's a pretty funny part with all the doors.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's weird because all the kids come through. They throw the batarang at Mark, at Dr. Sivana, and he starts bleeding, and that's when they realize that without
He's weakened. Yeah.
Which is good. And then they run away. They go through the door, and they find a bunch of doors everywhere, which is interesting because
So one of the doors is the 3 crocodiles.
That one's hilarious. The crocodiles.
They're just playing cards.
They're playing cards, and then they're really pissed off when he opens the door.
Yeah. Maybe they were just asking him if he wanted to join.
Yeah,
it's like, you wanna come in.
High stakes, man. $20 buy-in.
Who's the one that opens it? Is it
It's Eugene. And he's like, not this one.
Apparently David F. Sandberg
Plays all 3 of them.
Yeah, he made a cameo as all 3 of them.
Oh, right.
He's actually a crocodile. Did you not know that? The director was just a crocodile.
That explains why he's getting a divorce. But apparently, so the Crocodile Men, they're in a team up of villains of sorts in Shazam, and they team up with Mr. Mind, I think.
Yeah. So there's a few different groups in this side of the universe, of the DC universe. One of them is the Monster Society of Evil.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Very straightforward name. The other one,
they're monsters and they're evil.
Suicide Squad does come in as well, but there's also another one, the Science Squad, which is started by Chang Su, which I'm not sure who he is exactly, but Dr. Sivana joins the Science Squad. And there's a crocodile man named Sobek, who joins as well, named after an ancient Egyptian deity. Anyways, so there's a few throwbacks.
Yes,
to different characters.
They open a couple of other doors as well. They're probably some linked to something else in the DC universe, but
I was so opening doors. I'm actually not sure what that place is called of the wizard's lair, but they end up finding a way, they end up getting back to Earth in a very interesting way. I think it was just Billy.
He just thinks about the gentleman's club.
Yeah. And the dollar's like, oh, they had glitter in there. I want glitter.
The Freddy comes out at the end. It's like, nice people.
Dollar's the funniest in that scene. She's like, oh, I want to meet the nice people.
I want glitter. Which begs the question, is glitter the name of a person? Or?
Yeah. No, because Freddy comes out with glitter all over his face.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. So where was he?
You know.
And then Dr. Sivana comes afterwards, chases him through, and they end up at the
He also comes to the Gentleman's Club.
Yeah, that's interesting. Why was he at the Gentleman's Club? Is that what he was thinking?
Has
he spent some time in there. He's like, oh, fuck, I've been chasing after these kids for ages. You know, I need to have some entertainment as well. It's not all work and no play makes Sivana a bad boy.
So Lust is just like, I know a place.
Yeah.
So they go to the carnival, and this is effectively the whole final climax scene of the movie.
Yeah.
And then a bit of a twist. I guess it's a bit of a twist.
With the family?
Yeah, with the family.
Yeah, so if you didn't, people who weren't aware of Shazam or comic books, Shazam family members, there's a whole there's a Marvel family that comes into play.
And he shares his powers with them, I guess.
Yeah. But not so much that he loses his powers.
No, he's still got everything, but they're good at one thing.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, so everyone's got a certain power. Freddy's name is Captain Marvel Jr.
Ah, yep.
And Mary is Mary Marvel. So they're the two most prominent recurring characters. Mary actually becomes her own heroine for a long time. And her goddesses are actually different to the gods of Shazam. I think she has Athena, Hippolyte, different goddesses that draws on her power. But anyways, that's like comic book stuff. And then there's obviously Darla and Pedro, who are there as well.
And Eugene.
And Eugene.
Yeah.
Eugene as well, yes.
Yeah. So they all have the same powers.
No.
They all have one power.
They all got
unit.
one of the letters.
But Shazam has everything.
Shazam has all the letters. Yeah.
So Darla is Mercury, the speed.
Yeah.
Eugene is the Zeus. with the
Yeah,
lightning.
Zeus. Pedro's
Pedro
Hercules.
is Hercules. And Mary
is Atlas, I think. And then Freddy's Achilles.
He can fly.
He can fly. But yeah, he's this kind of thing. So, and like I was going to say, the casting was incredible. Like, who they got. Because if you look at the comic book, like, there's a panel that was shown of, like, how they look.
Yeah.
Older, and they look exactly like spot on. But it also shows they maintain their personalities. So it's a very consistent
Yes. Yeah.
theme with what Billy has as well.
The thing with Mary is because she's obviously graduating from high school. Like she's probably like 17, 18.
Yep.
So she's not going to change that much, right?
Nah, she does. she gets plastic surgery.
Pretty much,
Yeah. The chick that plays Mary when she's old is in Hawaii Five-O. One of my favorite shows. just for the fans out there.
Who's the guy that plays Freddy? Like the older Freddy?
He's
He looks familiar.
he's Adam Brody from like the OC or something.
Yeah.
Or was it One Tree Hill? It's one of those shows.
I think it's One Tree Hill.
Okay.
Eugene is played by Ross Butler, so he's in Riverdale and in 13 Reasons
13
Why.
Reasons, yeah. I don't know who Pedro is. I've never seen that guy.
Don't know. He probably failed his test as well.
And I don't know who Darla is as well.
She looks really familiar.
So the guy who played Pedro, the older Pedro, he was in G.I. Joe Retaliation.
Oh, my favorite movie, yeah.
And the girl who plays the older Darla is, she was in Venom? Venom 2005, so not the Venom. One Missed Call, Saw 5, Anchorman 2, and Think Like a Man.
Interesting.
Very, yeah.
Interesting, yeah. But yeah, so they end up fighting all the sins. Billy ends up getting Envy out in a really funny way. And Dr. Savannah effectively loses all his power. So he takes his eye out, or that ball or whatever it is, passes the test, is not corrupted. And yeah, that's pretty much the end of the movie, really.
That's pretty much it, yeah.
They have the reunion at the end with the foster family. He's fully integrated into the family now, does that whole before meal
ritual thing that they have,
do, which is cool. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And then there's obviously the post-credit scene.
Yes. So the first one is with Mr. Mind, which we've talked about. So Dr. Savannah's in jail and he's crazily writing all the symbols on the walls, trying to figure out a new combination. And then Mr. Mind comes to meet him and he says, what did he say?
He says that there's more than one way to get magic. He says that, I think he says something along the lines of like, humans amuse him. And he says that he can assist him with getting back, which will be good, which will be really interesting.
Yes.
Because Mr. Mind is a very interesting villain. And the second post-credit scene, which is obviously the more humorous one.
He's just trying to talk to a goldfish in reference to Aquaman.
Yeah.
We also miss the end of the movie where Superman walks in.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
It's not Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
It is actually
Zachary Levi's stunt double.
Double, yeah.
Yeah.
So they only show his sort of suit, which is the Man of Steel suit.
But it's good because it lays way to the whole, like, will he join the DC team? Will he join Justice League at some point?
Yes.
In the future. Leaves it open-ended, which is good.
Do you think they tried to get Henry and he's like, nah?
Yeah, well, there was talks that, I don't know if you guys heard about this, but he asked for too much money and they couldn't afford him. And then that's why, like, contract negotiations with him are kind of on hold as well because he wants a bit too much money, apparently.
Well, apparently he also wants a sequel to Man of Steel.
He wants a sequel, but he wants creative control as well. So he wants to look at the script and, like, have, not make changes, but, like, okay the script before he agrees to it. And, like, have choice on casting and directors and all that kind of stuff. And they don't want to give him that.
Other Easter eggs, cameos. So there's a social worker that appears at the start. I think she's the one that Billy meets before he goes to the foster home. Apparently she also plays the same role in the movie Lights Out, which is also directed by David Sandberg. So it's the same social worker role. So maybe it's the same universe as Lights Out. What else? Anything else that you guys saw? So the college that they go to is named after the original comic company,
Yeah.
Fawcett.
Fawcett Secondary.
Yeah, Fawcett Secondary. Yeah.
There was obviously Dr. Sivana's father is played by the actor who also plays Superman's Lex Luthor's father in Smallville, and it's a very subtle Easter egg, but it's drawing the parallel between Dr. Sivana and Lex Luthor. And I'm trying to think about there's also one with they call, I think Freddy calls Billy in or Captain Marvel. He calls them Captain Sparkle Fingers at one point, and in the Marvel universe, Captain Marvel or Carol Danvers is called Captain Sparkle Fists. So I think that might have just been a subtle throw. Oh, there was also the tiger doll.
Yes.
That comes into the movie. That's actually a reference. It's a reference to the character Talkie Tawny.
He's got a pet tiger.
Yeah.
As you do.
Yeah, as you casually do.
And he can talk to it.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Talkie Tawny is like a talking tiger that comes into the universe.
No, I don't think the tiger talks. Only Captain Marvel can talk to him, and they understand each other.
Oh, that's a bit later on. In the early editions, he's like an actual character that comes to New York.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, and like Billy's the only one that trusts him, or like everyone's afraid of him, obviously because he's a tiger. But he ends up giving him a job. He ends up getting him a job at the museum as a curator.
The tiger.
Yeah, the tiger. Yeah, and yeah, so he just ends up at the early editions. He ends up being like a friend to Shazam, like just someone he talks to and stuff.
It's like his pet tiger, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So it's pretty much like Paddington.
Yeah.
No, but I think in the later versions, he doesn't talk. He just growls.
Okay.
Yeah, he growls, yeah. There's also, in one of the comic books, a tiger doll plays a key part in the origin story of Black Adam. This doll is used to hide part of the scarab necklace, which allows Black Adam to first access his powers on return to Earth. So that's just like one story of a comic that was released back in the day. So it might have been a throwback, or just a subtle, Easter egg. As far as obvious Easter eggs go, that's pretty much it. There is one link. So the reason Mr. Mind and Dr. Sivana get along, in addition to them being like evil masterminds, is also because at some point Dr. Sivana ends up on Venus, like the planet Venus. Not entirely sure how, but he goes there and he ends up plotting his revenge against everyone who effectively shunned him back on Earth. And Mr. Mind is a Venusian creature, so Mr. Mind originates from Venus as well. And I think at some point they meet on Venus and plot the downfall of Captain Marvel and everyone.
We'll just quickly talk about potential sequels.
Yes.
So obviously in this movie itself, they've established the Shazam family, so they've all got powers now.
Yep.
So my thinking was that they can't simply have one villain. They've kind of got to up the stakes a little bit, because since all of them have powers, they need to have probably more than at least a couple of villains to fight against. So Black Adam is one of the obvious choices. Obviously Mr. Mind, which they've introduced. Who else are potential villains?
Well, Dr. Sivana will come back, and I'm not sure what role he'll play.
Yeah.
But I'm sure he'll play some part in that resurrection. There's a lot of smaller villains that don't really come on and off. I don't know if they'll actually do them though, because it's just not worth it. So there's one of them is Captain Nazi.
Yeah.
he comes a fair bit into the comics. Sobek, which is one of the crocodiles that takes part in the Monster Society of Evil. Don't know if the Seven Deadly Sins will make a reappearance. Probably not, because they've been done. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, because the problem with Shazam's villains is that there was only 2 or 3 key ones, and the rest were just on the side. Yeah. And every other villain was tackled by Justice League as a whole. So it'll be interesting to see what they do.
I only know Black Adam. I didn't even know Dr. Sivana before this movie, but I don't know a lot about Shazam though. So
it's because none of the villains made it past 1 or 2 arcs in the comics. They weren't reoccurring.
They could just use a Batman or Superman villain. Yeah,
they could, or they could nerf the family in some way, take their powers away, so it's really just Billy. But again, we'll have to see what that looks like. So it'll be interesting. But yes, Black Adam definitely coming.
You would hope so, for Dwayne Johnson's sake.
Yeah. Well, I think his standalone movie would come first, yeah?
Would they have a standalone movie?
I don't know if they're still going to do it, yeah. I don't know if they're still going to do the standalone. I think they'll just jump straight into the...
Okay, yeah.
I don't know if it's worth having a standalone movie.
That's true. It'll be tough. Because it'd have to go all the way back.
Yeah.
Back to ancient Egypt.
Yeah, and Dwayne Johnson's not getting any younger either, so...
No,
Yeah.
he's not.
Because they announced this, that he was probably going to be Black Adam, like, a while ago.
Years ago now.
Yeah, years ago. Like, I think it was even before... Might have been just after Batman v Superman.
It was before they announced there was a Shazam movie, so...
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, did you know that Zachary Levi was in Thor the Dark World and Thor Ragnarok?
Yeah, I did.
In Thor Ragnarok for like 3 seconds.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
He's one of the 3 warriors. 3 warriors? The Warriors 3.
It's 3, yeah. I'm surprised he came back for Ragnarok. Like, he just dies. Like, literally the scene he's introduced in.
Well, they all die, so...
Yeah, they all die. Yeah. I think that's it for Shazam. So obviously we really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And we highly recommend you watch it. We'll jump back to the Who Am I?
Yes.
So let's see what you guys think. So I'll go through the clues again to refresh your memory. So I am a direct descendant of the artist and magician Leonardo da Vinci, and I'm also related to Nostradamus, the noted alchemist Nicholas Flamel, and Ivan Falconelli, and also Lord Orion of Atlantis. I'm the daughter of a magician, and I was raised by my father in a small house in New York near the infamous Arkham Asylum. My mother seemingly died after my birth, but I eventually learned that my mother faked her death to return to a people of the mystical Homo Magi race. I became a successful stage illusionist before I discovered my true magical powers while investigating the disappearance of my father. On my quest, I asked help of various heroes, including Hawkman and Hawkgirl, Green Lantern, and Atom. Eventually, I located my father in the world of Karma, where I traveled alongside magical duplicates of the heroes I met in my journey, and I was finally reunited with my father, who was forced to stay away from me due to a spell from the evil sorceress Allura. For a while, I continued my career as a stage magician and also assisted people with my powers. I assisted the Justice League on a number of cases before being elected to full membership. As I was recruited into the Justice League, I changed my regular stage outfit to a combat costume, and I also changed my alias from being a magician to a sorceress. I am 5 feet 7 inches tall and 127 pounds in weight.
I love how you added that in.
Who am I?
All right. Do we say it at the same time? I think we both know who it is.
Well, we'll go with the guest first. So what did you think?
All right. Is it Zatanna?
It is Zatanna. Yeah. Yeah. Did you think it was Zatanna?
Thought it was Kang. No, I did think it was Zatanna. Yeah.
Yeah.
You had me at 5'11",
Which is the last thing he said.
Yeah, the moment you said that, I was like, "Oh, there we go."
It's definitely her. Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
yeah. No, like genuinely, like I had no clue until you said. I only pieced together the magician and the descendant of Leonardo da Vinci.
Yep.
So the rest was just information for me. So thank you.
I wonder if they'll ever do this character in the movies. It'll be interesting.
It'll be interesting. Yeah, it'll be tough.
She's in Young Justice.
And is she a bit of an anti-hero type as well?
No.
She's in Justice League Dark, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's not an anti-hero. She's a hero.
Yeah, but she has anti-hero friends.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Her dad is a full member of the Justice League originally. Yeah, Zatara.
She's got a lot of contacts. Yeah, she's got a lot of those contacts and friends that are could be considered dodgy.
Yeah.
Like John Constantine and
because I think I first saw her in Batman animated series.
Okay.
And from memory, I think she was doing something dodgy in that episode.
Yeah.
And Batman tries to stop her, but then he finds out that she was doing something I think she was trying to find her father or something. So
She's always trying to find her dad.
Yeah.
Bloody bastard keeps getting lost.
She's a bit like Billy Batson, but the opposite. Like trying to find her dad instead of her mom.
Yeah.
Or like the guy in Crimes of Grindelwald.
No, God.
Your favourite movies.
Our favourite movie of last year. Okay. So that brings us to the end of the episode, but not before we ask. We usually ask the guests 3 questions, but we've already asked you those questions. So we'll ask you something
ask you
else.
3 other questions.
We'll ask you. Well, we'll ask you. I don't know if I've got 3.
I've got 2 other ones. So you ask one,
to have 3
and then I'll fill the gaps. Yeah.
They won't relate to anything.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is more like my question is more looking forward. So what do you think will be the best comic book movie of this year?
Of this year? Oh,
given that we've already seen this movie.
yeah. Look, you can't go past Endgame. I
Yeah.
mean, I've been looking forward to that movie for as everyone else has for the last 10 plus years. So anticipation wise, I'm definitely looking forward to Endgame the most. Whether it will be the best,
Yeah.
I'm hoping it will be. And it's obviously got a lot of expectations to live up to. But yeah, I'm just going to go with Endgame.
Yeah.
Definitely, for me. Even if it's not as good as Infinity War, I still think that the way that they've done everything, the way that it's led up, was a difficult task, and they've done really well with it. So
Yep.
for me, that's going to be the best comic book movie of 2019.
I hope so too. Yeah. So what were the two questions that you had?
What is your favorite fast food restaurant?
Favorite? Oh, it's got a few at the moment.
Osmana Gomez?
Yeah, I'll take Guzmani Gomez right now because I've been having that a lot. Or Schnitz. I've been having Schnitz a lot nowadays as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of those two.
All right. Another question. I should have thought about this. What is your favorite brand of underwear?
Oh, that's tough. I'd have to go with Bonds.
Bonds. Okay.
Okay.
Bonds,
Yeah.
because
Is it for comfort?
everything, comfort, usability, durability, everything about Bonds.
Durability.
So you're not-
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Especially when you're because whenever I go to the gym and I'm like,
And you only wear underwear at the gym and get kicked out.
that's exactly it.
Yeah.
When I have Bonds on, they're like, oh mate,
They're like, you still get kicked out, but they admire your underwear
yeah,
before they kick you
I'm
out.
there for about 30 seconds early, 30 seconds more, and then I get kicked out. And it's just long enough for me to figure out what I'm going to do.
You get one rep in.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
You're not a designer underwear kind of guy. Like not a Tommy Hilfiger or a...
Oh, no. I've got a few Calvin Klein, which are good as well. But at the stage in my life,
Yeah.
I can't afford myself too many.
I
of
just
those.
can't justify paying that much for underwear.
Unless you're going to wear it to the gym and nothing else.
Only to the gym.
Yeah, because people are going to see it then.
If you had Tommy Hilfiger underwear, you'd probably be allowed to stay in the gym, right?
Exactly. I think they'll let you stay. Yeah.
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 Looks like you need to test it out, Torrin, and tell us how it goes.
Yeah, I will. Next episode.
I just get Alpha. You know that brand from Kmart?
Yeah, Alpha. I've got the ones that have the days of the week on them.
Oh, those are good too. Those are very
Yeah.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very handy.
When you forget the day, you always just look at your underwear. There it is.
Okay. Those were two questions I wasn't expecting. I thought you were going to go more down the line of, movies, comic books, but okay.
No, I just want to know more about him, I just want to know more about him as a person.
Okay. Fair enough.
You, mate.
Okay, I think that's it. Well, I was going to talk about some of the trailers and stuff that came out this week, but it's already been a pretty long episode, so we'll talk about it in the next episode. Also, we might see you sooner than later back on our episode. So thank you for coming on.
Yeah, no, that's all right.
For Shazam. We wanted to get you on particularly for this one because you were very knowledgeable about the comic books.
Yeah,
of Captain
he's
Marvel.
definitely my favorite guy. Yeah, it's obviously great to see him done well in real life, and
Yeah.
hopefully we get to see where it goes on from here.
And it's good to have you on for a movie that we actually like.
Yes, yes, definitely.
Unlike last time.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I love roasting movies,
Yeah.
and I could talk about that POS for days.
And that's actually one of our most popular episodes as well. Probably because a lot of people don't like that movie, and we did a very good job of roasting it. I think you were too nice. Torrin was too nice about it.
I was too nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you can't
You
always.
liked it. You liked it too much.
Yeah.
I think that deserved a complete
If
roast.
I roast a movie, then it becomes pretty brutal. I roast the movies I like, so
All right. Okay. We'll see you. We'll see you next time. Hopefully for another good episode.
Yeah, definitely.
So if people wanted to contact us, how would they go about it?
So we got Gmail, email. Yep, Gmail and email are the same thing, in case you were wondering. So our Gmail is cognitiverecalibrationpodcast@gmail.com. Then we're on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. At Twitter @CRecalibration and Instagram and Facebook @Cognitive Recalibration.
And we're on all podcasting platforms now, so you can find us pretty much anywhere. Do share our podcast with people that you think might be interested, and do get them to like our Facebook page because we're doing a lot of our updates through the Facebook page now. So do give us a like on our Facebook page and subscribe on your favorite podcasting service. Okay, so thanks for listening to this episode, and we'll see you guys in another episode. Probably talking some horror movies, I think. So tune in.
Sounds good. I'll tune in. See ya.
Laters.
Laters.
Bye.